We are ranking the top 24 tight ends in fantasy football today to help you dominate your fantasy football drafts. Do us a huge favor before we get started. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed if you play fantasy football. And make sure you are heading over to flockfantasy.com/domain. When you go over there and you use our code domain, you get all of our full 2023 fantasy football rankings. You get all of our articles. You get our research. You get our databases. You get on our Discord. It's a very useful tool to help you win your fantasy leagues. So you're going to want to head over there. Like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain. Code domain gets you 30% off. We'd love to see you over there. I'll let you start with the S tier this time.
All right, S tier, we've got Travis Kelce alone. And that's it. I don't think you can really argue with this. Yep. He is literally a full step at least ahead of every other tight end in the NFL as a talent and from a fantasy perspective. I tied to Patrick Mahomes. He is the wide receiver one there in tight end premium leagues last year. What was it, like 22 points per game in tight end premium? Something unreal. Like, no one's matching that. No one's getting close to that. He's shown absolutely no signs of slowing down.
Yeah.
Take him at price. Be excited about it. It's Travis Kelce.
You can hate me for this, but we're going to go down to the A tier, and we are going to start with TJ Hawkinson. And with TJ Hawkinson, you saw what he did last year when he went to the Vikings. You saw his jump in production, and you even saw his Detroit Lions production was skewed by a very big breakout game. Expect more of the same target-wise. He's playing alongside the best receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. Now he has one of the best wide receiver twos in the NFL in Jordan Addison. So TJ Hawkinson, he's going to be open a lot. He's going to be targeted a lot by Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins clearly liked playing with him last year.
His tight ends.
Expect more of the same. Mark Andrews is going to be next, and we flip-flopped these guys on the spot because with Mark Andrews, look, this is not a Greg Roman offense anymore. There is a little bit of a question mark here. Like, yes, he has this. We know his ceiling. It's tight end one. We know he probably should be in the 2 spot, and he's in the same tier as all these guys. But it is worth asking, is he going to reproduce the same fantasy production that he had way back when with a new offensive scheme? It could look pretty different this year in Baltimore. We'll keep him in this A tier, but we're going to put him behind TJ Hawkinson, and we're going to put George Kittle right behind these two guys. George Kittle's a lot of guys. I think people just want to forget about George Kittle. I mean, George Kittle is one of the best, if not, he or the second best tight end in the NFL. Like, I think I almost comfortably put him there. Like, from a fantasy perspective, yes, I know he's been hit or miss. However, I mean, as a tight end, he is going to be on the field because of his blocking. He's going to be on the field because of his playmaking. He is elite after the catch. He's going to be good with Brock Purdy, and he was last year. There's no reason to rank Kittle any lower than this.
Yeah, he's a little less consistent, but his ceiling is literally higher even than Travis Kelce, when it comes to his boom games. And you just kind of have to bake into his value. He's going to miss a couple games every single year. That doesn't mean he's injury prone. That just means he gets banged up. But when he comes back, he is, lights out every single time he's on the field. So really like him. Next tier, B tier, is going to be Kyle Pitts up top. And look, honestly, this is kind of just betting on the talent going into his third year. I mean, you're going into a third year for an elite level talent where you're kind of expecting him to take that elite level jump. He was tight end 5 his rookie season. You have to acknowledge that. Yes, that was with Matt Ryan. Now you're looking at an offense where they pass the ball a lot less, but you're also looking at a guy that I think could be really, really safe as well in an offense where they could lean on him. So I'm not as excited about Kyle Pitts' upside, but I do think he is going to be safer than some of these other guys that do have some question marks with their offenses. Dallas Goedert is kind of the last. He's kind of the last of those top 6 producing tight ends, and I think you really know what you're getting from him. And look, last year he was banged up. He had some injury questions. He's playing alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. There's only so much he can do in that offense and a rushing quarterback as well. So I don't think you can really argue having him much higher than this. And then Evan Ingram he may be my favorite guy in this tier. And I'm not going to put him over Pitts and Goddard. I just really like his situation.
I'd put him over Pitts and Goddard, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the only question mark to me is because they brought in Calvin Ridley.
And that's why I think he should stay at the tail end of this tier, is because of that. Again, small question mark, but look, at price right now, I like Evan Ingram over Goddard, and I like him over Pitts.
Agree with that.
I'm taking Kelce, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle at price. I'm fading Pitts and Goddard, and then I'm taking Evan Ingram. That's just at price. That doesn't mean I think he's going to finish higher than those guys. But again, his value is really great, and I don't know why people are so low. It's got to be Calvin Ridley. You're right. It has to be Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I think it's valid. But moving down to the C tier here, we're going to start with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth, I mean, he's going to be a solid tight end, But at this point, like, don't expect elite numbers from Pat Freiermuth. And I also wouldn't be expecting a breakout year. There are too many mouths to feed already in the receiving game in that offense for everybody to break out. Everybody says George Pickens, this is his year. Deontay Johnson, last year was an outlier. Pat P, oh, he's real good. Look, with Pat Freiermuth, he is what he is. I mean, expect some solid production, but nothing super crazy. Darren Waller, I don't know what to expect from Darren Waller this year, but what I normally expect from Darren Waller is for him not to be playing because he's usually banged up. And this is worse than the George Kittle banged up because he's usually actually injured. And we're not going to predict injury. So don't go in the comments and be like, yeah, you shouldn't predict injury. Look, Darren Waller, if he plays a whole season, Darren Waller has A-tier upside easily, because when he plays, he scores a lot of points. And he's playing on an offense where he's going to be heavily targeted. We totally understand that. That being said, you do have to take a player's past into account when you're ranking them for fantasy football seasons.
He's also never played with a quarterback that has significant receiving upside, and Daniel Jones is that guy. I mean, Waller playing with Derek Carr is a completely different situation than playing with Daniel Jones. It's a completely different offense too. So I think you have to take into account that.
Did you say receiving upside?
No, rushing upside. Daniel Jones has rushing upside.
Oh, I thought you said receiving upside.
No. I don't know. Maybe I did.
I think you might have. I was so confused. I was like, what did he just say? David Njoku is going to be next. David Njoku, yeah, I mean, I think he could do the same thing he did last season. That being said, we're going to be a little bit more careful. A lot of that last season was with Jacoby Brissett, and he was definitely a Brissett favorite target. So we'll see about how he ends up gelling with Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Dalton Kincaid's going to be next. Kincaid has as high a ceiling as anybody in this tier as well. In fact, he does have a tier ceiling this year. Yes, we are going to be conservative because he's a rookie. We've seen the splits on rookie tight ends. We get it. He could come in and he could be the number 2 target in the Bills offense, and he's going to be playing with Josh Allen. He's going to be playing an elite offense. That's not something you should be ignoring. We understand the risks that go along with picking him. However, at price, he's not a bad pick at all.
No, he could literally be a wide receiver as a like a cheat code tight ends. Legit.
And Dalton Schultz, I honestly expect Dalton Schultz to get more targets than people think this year. He's going to be playing with a young quarterback. I think he's going to be open in the middle of the field a lot. We saw what he can do with a lot of volume in Dallas, and because of that, I'm a little bit higher on Dalton Schultz than the community. We're going to rank him here at the end of this tier.
Yep. Then after the C tier, it is a total crapshoot.
So take it with a grain of salt. We'll go through these guys quickly, but yeah, we tried to rank these best we could.
Greg Dulcich, he showed flashes last year. We really liked him as a tight end prospect, and he showed flashes even sooner than we honestly anticipated. So going into this year where Sean Payton is, an actual coach coaching the Broncos, I think Dulcich could do something. We'll see. I don't think his ceiling is going to be that high, though. That's Judy's offense, and even Javonte Williams now. Cole Kmet, we know what Cole Kmet is. Last season, he finished as tight end 7, right on the verge of an elite producing tight end, but honestly, not really, because the difference between tight end 6 on a points per game basis and tight end 7 is huge. So, look, Cole Kmet is now competing with DJ Moore, who I think will be the lead wide receiver in that offense. How much is that really saying? Not really that much, but look, more competition, not expecting much from Kmet.
Yeah.
Gerald Everett tied to Justin Herbert. So yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but I think he has a really safe floor, and you can count on him on a week-to-week basis. If you're going, tight end fade, that's your strategy in drafting. Gerald Everett's a guy that I'm looking for, and then Tyler Higbee is also going to be the other guy that I'm looking for, because, you saw the games last season where Higbee even could have won you a league at the end of the season where you started him and he put up 35 points for you. And he, at times got 11 targets, which was crazy. So because there was no one else in that offense, and guess what? There's still no one else in that offense. It's the same offense as it was last season. So Higbee's going to have a real nice floor and some high upside games as well.
Yeah.
F tier.
Dropping down to the F tier here, we're going to start with Irv Smith. Look, don't forget, Irv Smith was a very talented tight end prospect. He was somebody that we were waiting to break out in Minnesota, and obviously going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Injuries have riddled his career. However, he's playing with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's playing with Joe Burrow, and they like to feature their tight ends. They like to feature Hayden Hurst a lot last year, who's the next guy on this list. Hayden Hurst obviously jumping from the Bengals down to Carolina. He's going to be playing with the rookie quarterback in Bryce Young. And with Hayden Hurst, do not underestimate how much a rookie quarterback could use as tight end. And because of that, I think Hayden Hurst, if you're not going to get one of those top guys, is a good guy to just kind of have on your roster and maybe plug into that tight end spot if you're just punting that position altogether, which in regular non-tight end premium leagues is not a super bad idea. Michael Mayer has top 12 tight end upside. I don't care what people say. He was widely considered the best and safest and most NFL ready pure tight end in this year's class. And he was right up there for us with Dalton Kincaid. And because of that, and because he's going to go into week 1 as the starter, playing with Jimmy Garoppolo, who will feed his tight ends because we saw it in San Francisco. I think he's being undervalued this year in fantasy. And I think Sam Laporta could be as well. I'm a little bit more hesitant on Sam Laporta because he's a different type of tight end, and I don't think he was as NFL ready. However, he's going to be playing a very high octane offense, one that he could see a lot of targets in, especially with Jameson Williams out for at least the first 6 weeks and maybe more now because of injury. Look for him to potentially get some targets and have some fantasy production early on in his career. And then Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki goes over to the Patriots, and I'm typically not touching Patriot fantasy assets. This is not really an exception to that. I haven't drafted a ton of Gesicki unless I've had to as a backup. That being said, Mike Gesicki is a talent. I mean, he's essentially a wide receiver playing at tight end. Yeah. And we saw that in Miami, and we've seen what he's capable of when he does get those targets. The question will be, does he get those targets? And I think that's a pretty big question mark for this year.
It's a crapshoot. Yeah. Chig Okonkwo going to be at the top of this G tier.
Way overrated. Way overrated.
Super overrated. I don't know what's up with the fantasy community ranking him where they have been. Like, did we forget that DeAndre Hopkins is there?
Or Treylon Burks?
Or, like, I know, but even when it was just Treylon Burks, I was like, okay, I guess I understand. I still don't like it, but now it's like,
Nick Westbrook-Ikhine might out-target Chig Okonkwo, like, legitimately.
Yeah. So, look, nothing much to say about him other than that. I mean, yeah, he showed out last year, had some really cool, awesome catches. He probably will this year as well, but second year, like, I'm just not super excited about him in fantasy. Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill, I mean, you could pair them together. They're going to go back and forth. One of them's going to have an awesome game. The other one's going to have an awesome game. You don't really know who's going to do what when, but, you know, if you've got your tight end one that's on a bye or injured for a couple weeks, you plug one of those guys in, you're feeling comfortable that you could get a boom week from one of them. So you can really count on them as a tight end two, as a backup tight end in your leagues. Then Dawson Knox going to be at the tail end here. He's playing behind Dalton Kincaid. I think Kincaid takes the majority of the tight end targets there automatically right away. But you do have to admit with Dawson Knox, he has showcased red zone capability in the past a bit. And while I think that could go down this season,
Dalton Kincaid's way better.
You have to recognize it. But that's why he's at the very end of this tier.
And he's also at the very end of this tier, and he's even on this list because they will run some two tight end sets because Dalton Kincaid will be lined out wide more than you think he will. And that should give you more about Dalton Kincaid. But those are top 24 tight end rankings. Again, it's kind of a crapshoot after the first 10 or 12. So take this with a grain of salt, but we did kind of try to sit down and sift through these tight ends. So do us a huge favor. Make sure you drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed as well if you play fantasy football. We are going to try to bring you the best fantasy football content that we can. We're going to bring it all season long. And make sure you head over to flockfantasy.com/domain. There you can find all of our rankings, all of our articles. You can get on our Discord. You can have all of our research and our databases. So it's a great place to be if you're looking to win a ton of money from fantasy football this year. We're here to help you do that. We've done the dirty work. We've done the research. And now we're willing to give it to you. Like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain. You use our code. You'll get all that research and everything else. And you get 30% off the entire site. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you later.